Yes, we apologize. We have technical difficulties. We were expecting Malcolm to start the live stream this morning, but it's like he might have an emergency situation with the airports and stuff. He does have an invitation to come. But to start, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, everywhere and any. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is your co-host for Black Man Spy, but maybe get informed with Wajeeh. My
We are
also
undercover black men spies.
yeah
Undercover.
on the
Undercover job.
on the cover on the,
I
my
did a quick face paint.
guest. What's happening? I also is our Middle East expert, Danish spy, Jacob Kaarsbo. He is from Denmark. No, yeah, Denmark.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
I'm right here in
I,
Copenhagen, man.
I like one thing. I haven't been to Denmark, but I love few things from Denmark. I like pook cheese, the with the blue cap and
Yeah,
has
yeah,
like the
yeah, yeah,
cream
yeah. The
cheese.
puck. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And the Kinder Surprise from my childhood. And
Kinder surprise. I think that's German, actually. I think it's German, to be honest.
it's not okay. I thought it was dated. And then
Uh,
someone with the best furniture. That's all I know. But thank you so much for coming in. Malcolm came in and was in and out for some reason. But do you
I
have a
think the
coffee box ready?
problem is his Wi-Fi on the plane does suck. So I think that's why. It's sent me a message that got through, and then he tried to log on, and now it's off again. I think it's the plane
Resend an
Wi-Fi
invite.
that's pathetic. So never mind.
I have to send it.
Are we doing our
Well,
mug stuff?
yes, I have my U.S. Embassy in today.
Hey, I've got the soccer football mug from my son's boyhood club, and I used to play there a bit. I was probably too old. Some of the youngsters would argue. I only stopped when the kids in the team were in the same age as my daughter. So I kept going for a long time, but I think my legs can feel it now. But
Are you a midfielder or a defender?
I'm a midfielder, so I did a lot of hard work. Fortunately,
I was like, it is that has to be a midfielder. Yeah.
fortunately, my son has got better feet, so he can do all the nice stuff. I had to run around and be the tough guy. So he gets up easily. So I said to him, don't rest on your laurels just because you got good feet. Now you have to show you're tough as well. So yeah, he's working on that.
That's nice. It's very inspiring when we see you go away for a while to take care of family business, and it's very inspiring to see, put the world aside so many times just to enjoy life with family. It is very inspiring. But yeah,
Yeah,
do
I think
appreciate that
actually,
about you.
I've always had this thing of when things were on, they were on, and then I could quickly, just switch off and be with my family or go and play soccer or whatever, and then come back on again. So, so it's yeah. It's
That's pretty cool. Guess where we're at prices for WTI today.
yeah, it's around about 80. It's below 80 WTI.
No.
Brent crude is 80, isn't it?
Yeah, crude is exactly it. WTI is 77.
Yeah, 77. Yeah.
You guys, this is all future. This is current because if believe it or not, even though on paper this is open, about 20 to 30 ships passed the Strait of Hormuz today, and majority of them were percent of them or so were all black ships.
Yeah.
Like and black
No,
ships are basically. Go ahead and would you mind
no,
explaining what a
no.
black ship is?
Yeah, well, a dark ship turned off AIS, probably going close to the Omani coast, maybe by the support of the U.S. Navy, but not a VLCC, as they are called, a very large crude carrier. Those those most important ships when it comes to the oil supply cannot pass, and I don't think that any of those have passed at all during all this time. But because they are so big, they if if they try to pass, it will likely end up in a disaster. So that would surprise me. There you got the prices, Waji. Yeah, Brent is 80, exactly 80. Yeah, let's see what happens. The big thing is when I talk to people in the oil sector, traders, etc., they say that prices will stay between 80 and 100 at least. They expect that for at least the next 6 months because it will take so long to fill up reserves and to just get the production levels up and to get the ships in the right place. And we will see the likes of the US, perhaps also China, start to do additional purchases to fill up their strategic oil reserves. And that will keep prices elevated for a long way for a long time to come, regardless of how the transit, if that even works in the Strait of Hormuz. So let's see on Friday what happens, what the circumstances really are, or whether Donald Trump, as he said about an hour ago at the G7, is going to present the details of the MOU. He said that if you didn't notice. So let's see.
My question, I really wish someone was here for this. How many ships can pass the easy pass at the moment in the Strait of Hormuz, given like at full capacity? Because that's not a big space. That's just few miles wide.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, I don't think anyone knows because it hasn't really been tested. The Iranians have let a few through, but we don't know how many. At least I don't have a clue how many that they can guide through that way. It's interesting. I have here behind me, you probably can't read it, but a source claiming that he knows the content of the deal. And there it says that the whole traffic is subject also to mine clearance, etc., and Iran's acceptance of transit and that whole ordeal. So if that holds true, Iran can actually keep a bit of a lid on it for a while. So it's very uncertain what's going to happen.
From my understanding, this area is all mined, and that the
Yeah,
easy path through here.
yeah,
And if you can see, this is not much of space. This is not too many, and it can also be for some ships to
yeah,
go through.
exactly. I mean, the point is about the easy pass. You pass through, entering the strait north of Larak, between Larak and Kishem Islands. On your map there, if you can point now, yeah, that's when you enter the strait. And then when you exit the strait, it's just south of Larak Island. Yeah, a bit. Yeah, you go. I can show it up here. You pass through, entering up here, go in just along Kishem. I'm sorry, I can make this bigger. My mistake, guys. Sorry about that. Here we are. You see, you up, and there we go. Look, you enter in here, north of Larak, and just south of Kishem. And then as you exit, you go all the way up here, just south of Larak and out again. And yeah, we'll see how that works and whether it is in fact true that, as you pointed out before, Wajeeh, the normal traffic separation scheme is in fact mined. We suspect it is, but I, at least for one, can't say I know the exact circumstances. But let's see. Let's see. There
Uh,
appears, from what I've seen in that text, that there is an exemption, and that it's subject to Iranian clearance of the traffic separation scheme. But yeah, if Trump has signed up for that, he's super desperate. What I think he was. So
JD Vance, few interviews yesterday about the MOU, the breaking it down. Um, U.S. agreement 23 hours ago, 13 hours ago, and
yeah,
pull out the statement with the. The reason I'm pulling this statement out is because one, Malcolm asked me, and two, because this we have the Israelis respond statement, and they're not too happy with either JD Vance or Trump regarding the MOUs. You'd think that after all the U.S. have done, Israelis would be at least a little bit satisfied with the type of uh, attacks that they have done, but no, they want more. So this is JD Vance on the Iran deal. I'm gonna play it. It may be cut out of YouTube depending on the situation. It is just important to a podcast.
classifies as terrorists, such as Hamas or because what the agreement does is fundamentally set up a by if the Iranians behave like a normal country, then we want to treat them like a normal country and welcome them in. Paragraph one of the agreement that Iran commits itself, just as the United States, to regional peace and stability. And Jake, is that the Iranians have to stop funding violent terrorist organizations. They have to stop funding regional instability. Important thing about this agreement, Jake, is that everything from what a nuclear program, and of course, that's the most important thing, is the commitment, verifiable to never building a nuclear. All of these things come along with this if Iran delivers, and nothing it doesn't deliver. So we certainly expect that as per agreement, Jake, Iran is going to stop funding terrorist organizations. Most importantly, they're going to have a verifiable commitment to not building a nuclear weapon. But the good thing about the way that we've set this up is that we leverage here. We have the ability to the world economy if they perform. We also have the ability to say, you know what, you don't get anything if you don't meet your end of the obligation. It's fair to say that it's not spelled out that they have their ballistic missile program or a funding of the Houthis and Hamas and Hezbollah. That is really vague, and then the U.S. will come later and so we expected this, and you're not. I'm just trying to understand how the deal is written. Yeah, so the MOU, Jake, is about a page and a it is a very general document, but this is the conversations that we've had
Hmm.
with the Iranians. And on those, we are going to have to figure this stuff out. Okay? But what the MOU does is set up a framework where Iranians get the benefits of the bargain, obligations under the bargain. They know that we want terrorist organizations. They know that we don't want them to be a stability in the region. And of course, most importantly, they want a verifiable long-term commitment or procure a nuclear weapon. We have that in this. Fundamentally, it's set up in such a way where we're going to have to do deliverables that then are met benefits for the Iranian people. That's the way that we've structured it. I just comment on this, Jake. If I could step back, right? The Iranian nuclear program has been completely fascinating to enrich uranium. Their rich stockpiles buried far below the earth, and we really have a pathway to ensure the Iranians don't ever
To ensure that the Iranians don't nuclear weapon, is what he's
Yeah.
trying to say. Uh,
Yeah, you
the
know,
interview goes a few
he
minutes, but the
he's
the
just throwing sand into the eyes of people. I mean, yeah, I have no faith that he's actually saying the truth, and then he's backpedaling on, on that whole issue of ballistic missiles and the funding of terrorist organizations, etc., etc. And we all know that Iran is never going to sign up to that anyway. And then he claims we can do it
exactly.
because they fear us, blah, blah, bblah, blah, blah. And that's just, it's, yeah.
So the Iranians have released their part of the memorandum of understanding. We read it out loud yesterday. Uh,
Where did that come from? What was the original source of it?
the Iranian news.
Okay.
It was the official government.
Yeah. Yeah.
That they and that was their version of the and in their version of the MOU treat the United States would not expand any of its military, and they agreed that all sanctions would be on Iran, whether it is a U.S. sanction or it is a UN sanction. Sanctions that is on the Iranian and be lifted, they would be granted dollars immediately Yeah, something like $12 billion
Mm.
immediately
Yeah.
from the United States, and another $12 billion at
Yeah.
the end, in addition to another $300 billion package from the Gulf states.
The fun.
The I think Obama's deal had $10 billion or less, $12 to the
Yeah.
Iranians,
And that was
and
only
only
after
giving the Iranians
compliance.
200.
That was only after compliance on the components of the nuclear agreement. So that was after, all the issues of international verification under the IAEA was in place, etc. So here the Iranians get the reward beforehand. So yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
Well, the Israelis are not having it. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that has been obvious for for a couple of weeks at least that there is a clear split, and that this is actually a huge problem for Israeli security. And most of the Israeli political parties and figures at the top ranks of the Israeli political system are flatly against it. It's very hard to find anyone that thinks this is a good idea. But the problem is that Bibi and the rest, they have no, for them it's just a matter of destroying, destroying, destroying. They don't operate with an exit where there's actually something working at the other end. If you wanted to have proper regime change, you need to actually contribute to building a proper political leadership in a given country, and you only get more
Yeah,
trouble by leaving a power vacuum. So the sad thing is that none of the top echelons of the Israeli political system have any answers as to how can we actually do something so we can remove the threat in a sustainable way, because all their actions are actually making things worse. You can always whack a few Hezbollah and whack a few here and there, but at the end of the day, it won't solve the root cause, and then it just gets worse down the road, and that's the sad thing, and that's all I've seen from Israel.
that's really crazy, man. Well, here's what Prime Minister Netanyahu said in Jerusalem yesterday. He
Yeah.
rejected the uh, parameters of the U.S.-Iranian memorandum of specifically disputing Iran's the deal enforces a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. Netanyahu, with an agreement, without amendment, Israel will continue military operations to prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons. He maintained that the joint U.S.-Israeli campaign initiated in February, spread Israel from a nuclear annihilation, but clarified that
Whoa,
Israel
that
is
was
not
close. That was a
part
close call, man.
very close. Israel was going to be nuked. That's why
Yeah.
we had to attack.
Except there's no evidence
Uh,
of
uh,
that at all.
and then he added that Israel is not part of the Geneva parameters, meaning the MOU
Yeah.
between the U.S. and that is
Yeah.
just Netanyahu.
Yeah. I
Defense
think
minister came out.
Yeah, I
That
think Netanyahu came, there was a statement by Netanyahu a few hours ago, and he was more forthcoming. It seemed like Trump had been pressuring him, and he was, at least in what he was stating, more forthcoming as regards the deal, not so confrontational.
Regarding about Netanyahu being pressured, I heard Trump said to, well, if you are not into this, you're welcome to fight this war on your own. And Israel,
Mm.
and according last, this was the last time the United States did something like this was during President. Let me pull that out.
Trump is at the G7 in Evian, France right now. And Trump came there was a big interview with Trump only about an hour or two ago. And he really criticized, he really roasted Netanyahu and said that the way they were fighting Hezbollah in Lebanon was not the right way. And you don't just level a building because there's a commander inside, because there are also
Mm.
civilians and so on. And guess what he ended up saying, Wajeeh? This is the real crazy part. He ends up saying, I think that the Syrian leadership under Ahmed al Sharaa will be the right people to deal with Hezbollah.
Wow,
He says this.
that is
This is a.
stupid. That is so stupid because, like, he's literally to the fact that Al Shara is a terrorist by stating like that's a literal state. Oh, I know Al Shara used to be a member of ISIS, and they have a lot of hate the Hezbollah because of their religious differences. They're Shi'i and Sunni
Yeah,
and don't get along necessarily together. But that's also stupid
yeah,
because we have seen how Iranians work with Hamas, and Hamas is a extremist Sunni organizations as well. So they do make exceptions every once in a while. They're not
yeah.
state the, but I don't know, man. Uh
Exactly, but Wati, you know what is super interesting? I don't think we spoke about that last week. It is Trump started talking about this crazy idea that Syria should again deal with Hezbollah in Lebanon and enter into the Lebanese equation. And of course, Syrians don't want that. They have enough to deal with inside of Syria itself. And Al Sharaa even refused to go to the White House last weekend. He should have been in Washington, D.C., but apparently refused. And what he did, the only thing he gave Donald Trump, which is super interesting. And I spoke to this with my paying subscribers last week when we went over what's going on in Lebanon. The paying subscribers that are on here have heard this before, but Waji, you will also recognize what this is. This is the Sheba Farms, and that
yes.
has always been disputed. And under Bashar al-Assad,
The Julan.
because the Israelis are there. And this is the reason why Hezbollah, during all these years, has justified that, as Hezbollah says, the resistance must continue because Israel keeps occupying the Sheba farms, which is only 20 square kilometers of land. And Hezbollah alleges that this is Lebanese territory, but as you can see here, it's actually part of the area
Syria.
of the Golan that should belong to Syria. So
Yeah.
under Bashar al-Assad, he said, "No, no, it's all right. It's Lebanon," because he wanted Hezbollah to keep up the resistance and the armed confrontation with Israel. But al-Sharaa said yesterday, no, sorry, last week, I think it was Thursday or, yeah, Thursday or something like that, that the Sheba farms was actually unresolved between Lebanon and Syria, and that it might as well be Syrian territory. So he changed the stance from Bashar al-Assad and put some pressure on Hezbollah that way. But that is as far as we'll see Al Sharaa and the new Syrian government go vis-a-vis Lebanon. I'm quite confident of that.
I found a statement. He said Trump believes they must get in line or fight alone. Something no U.S. president since Reagan said to an Israeli prime minister. This is just one statement from Trump. And then another piece of news that just came out here. Let me see what it is. There's a lot of stuff happening, but the other thing that was just happening, Israel requested access to give them understanding being negotiated with Iran. Request has been denied. It's Israel is for the first time with Trump is getting the cold shoulder treatment. What's happening here, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, it tells you all you need to know about Trump's desperation to get a deal and to move away from what he's actually done and what he started on the 28th of February, and all the criticism within his own ranks. So now he's gone gone in the opposite direction, and it is, to be fair to the Israelis, it is a huge problem for them, because there's no way that Trump can get even a JCPOA style agreement. So for the Israelis, they'll be in a worse and more precarious situation, and they're in a quarrel with the most friendly of the radical right, the most friendly president in the U.S. of the radical right that they can ever find. So it's really troublesome for the Israelis. And we also, as much as we've criticized Trump and not least Netanyahu for what they've been doing, there is, a real threat against Israel from the radical Shia groups and the so-called resistance, the axis of terror that Iran has built up. There's no getting away from that. So what Trump is doing is super troublesome, and it just tells you that what he really started first of all by exiting the JCPOA during his first term, and now by starting a war on the 28th of February under just delusional thoughts about how this would all play out is so troublesome. You know, not only
You
for
know,
us, but
you make
especially for
a,
Israel and the Gulf Arab states.
you make a good point. Comprehend and understand that since this war started, a better position for before since what I'm trying to say, Israel were at a better negotiating position the war started than the situation that they're in now.
Mm.
Talked a lot about game theory. We talk a lot about um your we talk a lot about your ability to have more demand negotiating out of a place of than when you're negotiating out of place. And the Trump administration is negotiating at a place of desperation for several reasons. Administration is having some polling and U.S. presidential history. The midterm election, and Trump does not want to lose that. And the Senate. I don't know if the Senate is also up,
Yeah.
but I'm assuming part of it is. But and then you have, in addition to that, the U.S. have spent billions of dollars and now is asking us for an additional $100 billion for the Pentagon just to afford this war. Money that we don't have, that we have to borrow to fund that to afford. And we are actually um, cannibalizing our military in order to conduct this war. And what we mean about cannibalizing is when you have strategic resources in the Southeast China Sea and strategic resources all over the world, and you're having to pull away these strategic resources from these places in order to fight a war. Why would you don't want to do that? Is because these missiles and these weapons are there because they're strategically important to deter our um, uh, enemies, adversaries from making certain moves. China now is emboldened to expand in the South China Sea and expand even into Taiwan. That is the exact risk we're talking about. What do you see happening with what do you see happening with Israel, understanding that they're worse place now than they would have started of this war? I understand the argument you're coming from. Oh, they're a worse place. What do you see them do? Just
Yeah.
covert action.
You know, they must be really worried, and I expect them to to go their own way even more. In this can actually, there's going to be an election in Israel in a few months' time, and this could actually drive in two directions. You know, undoubtedly, Netanyahu hopes that confronting Hezbollah, confronting Iran will really get him support. It could also lead in the other direction with what Trump is doing and the pressure Israel is now under, that people think, okay, we are heading in the wrong direction. We can also see that, unless we change our ways, we don't have support from the EU, we don't have support from the US that we used to. It's all right that Somaliland has opened an embassy today in Jerusalem, but if you don't have the support of the EU or the US, Somaliland doesn't really matter, does it? So
What is it gonna do? So what is Somalia gonna do?
yeah, exactly. So it could have an effect in two ways, and it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, I don't think we've seen the last of the EU countries uh, trying to put pressure on the radical right fringe in Israel by sanctioning,
Just
etc.,
some
etc.
sanctions.
Because
I saw some sanctions here and there.
yeah, but because what they are doing in the West Bank, in Gaza, in Lebanon, is illegal. And when you invade another country, you have an obligation to find a way out and leave something sustainable in place. And that's what the EU wants to support Israel doing. And my own country, Denmark, has always been very supportive of Israel. Personally, so am I. And Germany has been very supportive. The Dutch have been extremely supportive, etc. But the Brits, obviously, they're not part of the EU anymore. But there's much more criticism from even countries that have supported Israel to the core always, because what Israel is doing now is illegal,
Jacob,
and we can't justify it.
let me let me ask you this: do you see a difference in that between you and the younger generations in Mark and the rest of Europe? Support to Israel. Like when you talk to your kids or your younger nephews or nieces, do they say how dare you support Israel, or like are they on board supporting Israel, or is there a difference of opinion?
No, I mean, no one, that I know have really challenged that. My, my kids form their own opinion, but I think they're pretty level headed about it. So, but obviously, it's a new situation with Israel violating blatantly international agreements, and we can't justify that, and that is something. But at the same time, of course, we also need to keep Israel safe, but it's just that the radical fringe, which is mainstream in Israel, unfortunately, now says, well, to hell with international agreements, because we can't secure the Palestinian territories. So let's just, plow away and build settlements, etc., etc. And we can't have that.
Well,
So,
here's what the defense minister said yesterday of Israel. He said Israel's forces will not withdraw from the occupied
mm,
areas of the southern Lebanon. So it's not just Palestinian territories, Syrian
yeah,
territories, is Lebanese
it's Lebanon
territories
as well. Yeah.
directly. Yes, um, coordinating the Iranian ceasefire deal, a separate warning that Israel will strike Iran with great force if Tehran launches a retaliatory attack over recent Israeli drone strikes in Beirut. So not only that they are attacking, but they are also uh, perceiving another. That's where Trump was like, step in and was like, okay, okay, Iran, we'll give you billions of dollars and we'll just for my birthday, give me a
Mm.
nice birthday and sign the MOU. Do not respond to the Israelis. We'll give you billions of dollars right now. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Um Man, that's just crazy. And then you have the national security minister, Ben Gravid.
Ben Gurion.
Uh
Ben Gurion. He's he's a lunatic, man.
he the US broker deal, including diplomatic pressure applied by Trump. His full public statement reads, not a subject to the United States, and we are an independent sovereign nation. Every time we succumbed to international pressure and the expense of Israeli security, blood price within. We emphasize we love the U.S. and are grateful to President Trump. And yes, the state of Israel is a banana republic. My position is clear. We are not partners to this agreement. No, that does not ensure our security and it does not bind us in any way. We must not compromise on anything less than the dismantling of Hezbollah, not withdraw from any territory that others have occupied and cleared of terror infrastructure. We must not turn to a situation where thousands sit on the fences and settlements, and certainly we must not succumb.
Yeah. He's
I
the
feel
national security minister, right? I don't think he does a lot for
yeah,
Israeli security in the long term. He undermines Israeli security, but he
my
wants
voice is
greater
breaking up. Is it
Israel.
still breaking up?
Yeah, it's breaking up. But he wants greater Israel, and what can you say? It has no place. I have to say, it has no place. If you advocate for greater Israel, you have no place. That's as simple as that.
Easy man. That like, listen, I I think like supporting it with modesty. As someone that who grew up all his life saving lunch money to send to Palestine when we were in Saudi Arabia, we would save
Yeah,
our lunch money and put it in boxes so we could send it to Palestine. And we lived the Palestinian trauma through and watched everything. So the supporting Palestinian causes is embedded in our. But at some point, I grew out of okay. I want to have some peace. I want to have coexistence. Israelis' actions possible. Don't make that possible for me. Make it justifiable for okay, to I want to see how peaceful Israel is. Anytime I want to point out, oh look, Israel is peaceful, I can't. I'm
mm,
looking, I'm like doing is not peaceful.
yeah,
You're saying you have you're saying you have freedom of speech. You're saying you have everyone is welcome. Show me, show me
mm,
everyone is welcome. Like
mm.
you, y- the there's better ways. There's better ways than that they are showing us. And
And, and the sad
uh,
thing is the course of the course they've taken plays right into the hands of the terrorists, of the terrorist infrastructure that the Iranians have created. And, the Israelis are right in complaining about the terror infrastructure. But, through their actions and what they are doing, they actually play into their hands. And it's terrible. It's terrible. As I've told you, Wati, I've fought against these terrible organizations, and it just pains me to see that Israel's own actions make it easier for them to survive. Actually, it's terrible.
let's see find some questions. We
Yeah,
have reached the top of the hour, and
yeah,
I think if you want to see if you have any questions, they also have posted thread on Those chat your
Yeah.
question there. Make sure that I don't miss it. I can.
And meanwhile, Waji, I can just say for any one of our listeners who are interested in that whole idea behind Hezbollah and the Sheba farms, the role it plays, the little 20 square kilometers up here, and the whole border area up in northern Israel, South Lebanon, Golan, etc. It's on my site, the video from last week, where I go through that whole process of what has been happening.
Saying that I my video. Let's see if I can fix that.
Yeah, it's not the best.
Pause the VPN. Let's see if that fixes it for now.
It sounds good now. Did you get any questions?
Okay, so it must have been the VPN. I am waiting. What are the chances this attacks
I got.
Lebanon before
Okay.
Friday?
Can you repeat that?
What are the chances that Israel will attack Friday?
Before Friday. I would say even chance. If I went to the bookie, I won't even place $5. Because the risk is high, man. It would like
Man,
go to the casino
I'd
and
be
black or
surprised.
red. It's even.
I would not be if an attack happens that way.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly, exactly,
yeah, I would not be if that happen. That's my expectation.
exactly.
You think of the report on letter for one that the Iran a psychiatrist to negotiate with Trump. So technically, they didn't bring the psychiatrist with them. What they said was they hired a few psychiatrists to analyze Trump's state of mind. They came up to the conclusion that Trump not mentally stable. And therefore, the Iranians started running all their negotiation statements by their psychiatrists. And after they started running their statements by psychiatrists, they said the Iranians said that they have seen better results out of their negotiations with Trump. So that was statement that came out. And
I think it's
corrected.
yeah. I think there's a fair bit of information operations in this as well, psyops, because it's like the Western intelligence agencies always do psychological profiling of leaders, etc., etc. And I think the Iranians know that. So they took this opportunity to throw it out there that we've had to hire psychiatrists to understand this lunatic in the White House, etc. So to be honest, I think they see it as an opportunity to really throw some smear out about Donald Trump. Not that it isn't quite obvious, but I think some nice information operations. We have to give credit to the Iranians for that.
Teresa is asking Jacob, how else can the Israelis act to get this Hezbollah out of Lebanon? By supporting Hezbollah, Iran has put the Palestinians in the middle.
Yeah, I will say that the only real strategy that could be sustainable is to support the other political factions to get stronger, and to support the Lebanese army to get the hell out of the Sheba farms, so the Hezbollah and the supporters don't have that as an excuse. We've seen how Hezbollah in Lebanon has been losing support in their confrontational stance because Hezbollah entered, the war in Gaza and brought Lebanon into war with Israel. Through that, the Lebanese didn't want it. We saw huge demonstrations already in 2019 when the Lebanese state was bankrolled. So it's not that the idea of Hezbollah and terror is all that popular. If you could only, support the other fractions, I think, some political reforms are also in need. But the worst thing you want is to give these terrorist organizations arguments. And Israel, by hanging on to Sheba farms throughout all these years, by hanging on to some of the other areas and continuing attacks, and now establishing a security zone, is really something that Hezbollah and the Iranians can use for their own purposes. Now, as regards Sheba Farms, why not turn that over to an international mechanism to make sure no one gets in there, but just to avoid this whole argument that Israel occupies Lebanese territory. They should have done that. It would be possible, but the Israelis have not wanted to do that. And obviously, now, I mean, and there are even more chances now to make it harder for the Iranians to support Hezbollah with the new regime in Syria. Because they washed out the IRGC from Syrian territory. That was a huge problem throughout all these years. But now they have that has changed. Hezbollah was really unpopular for entering the Syrian civil war on the side of Bashar al-Assad, also in Lebanon. So there are lots of opportunities to do that, but the Israeli actions undermine all that. Unfortunately.
There is a former Israeli intelligence officer, Ari, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, alleges that the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu plans to weaponize unreleased Jeffrey Epstein files to prevent a diplomatic agreement between the United States and Iran. According to Ben, if uh, Ben Manashi,
Yeah.
Ben Manashi, if the Washington and Tehran progresses toward a finalized peace deal, the Netanyahu intends to deter the negotiation by releasing previously unseen materials compromising high level U.S. officials, including Donald Trump. This allegation introduces an unprecedented element of diplomatic blackmail into the U.S. Israeli relationship. I previously talked about how the Israeli intelligence does not only spy on U.S. officials, but also talking about blackmailing the U.S. president on national television.
just like Putin. Just like Putin.
They're literally talking about blackmailing the president of the United States on in English.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
It,
well,
it's insane.
Help.
It's insane. Yeah,
how do
yeah.
we, how is can you help me make sense of this? How is this considered an ally? How is this considered a friendship?
You know, when
It sounds like an
you know
abusive
there's one universal rule is that dictators and autocrats don't get along, and they always end up being at each other's throats. That's why the only countries that can keep together an alliance are real democracies. That's what history tells us. And you know, Netanyahu and Trump are both wannabe dictators. And that's why they end up at other opposite sides of the fence, because dictators don't have values. Dictators, want to meet their own ends first and foremost. So they'll always end up in a clash. So, if there'd been proper democratic politicians, it wouldn't have happened.
See what FIFA tried to do with the Israeli representative and representative?
No, FIFA.
No, just in the last day or so, the last 2 days, FIFA ambushed the Palestinian minister of
Why?
sport and brought him on stage, Israeli minister of sports. And the minister was so pissed off. Like, why are you doing this? My permission if you want. And he goes, yeah, this we will make this work. The FIFA president, he goes, like we will fix this relationship. Like he's going to he's gonna solve the Palestinian Israeli conflict. Uh,
Crazy.
I don't know where if I that
Crazy.
out. I have to pull it out.
I
I
found a
have
question here, Wajeeh, if that's okay. It's from Linda, I guess. What are the good sources of Israeli news that are independent? I will recommend the Times of Israel. I think they're quite good. I think there are some really good commentators in Haaretz as well. And I will also say that if you are active on X, I'm not active on X because I don't want to support Elon Musk's enterprise. But I do keep an eye out on X because there are some sources on there that I can't find elsewhere. But I just want to say to our listeners, if you want to understand what's going on between Iran and Israel, you can look up Danny Citrinovich. He appears on CNN and various international channels every now and then. He's a former colleague of mine from Israeli Defense Intelligence, and he's really bang on point all the time. Danny Citrinovich is his name. He's a guy that understands what the hell is going on. Oh no, not more
see if I
FIFA Peace Prize bullshit. There, yeah.
that's what happened yesterday.
The controversy at the FIFA, Infantino attempted to play peacemaker, inviting the president of Palestine's Football Federation and the Israel's FA up on stage. So he encouraged the pair to shake hands. The Palestinian representative refusing the gesture, though.
For see.
You
So
can't make this shit up, guys.
Infantino wants his own peace prize back from Donald Trump. Is that the play here, or what? For heaven's sakes!
I'm sorry about that noise. It's crazy though. That's just crazy.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
just because he gave the peace prize to Trump, that doesn't make dude.
Oh my God.
All
Okay.
right. I think
Yeah.
I don't think that is instantly I appreciate everyone to please go up there, click on my name to Jacob Kaarsbo. Technically this is supposed to be the Black Man Spy podcast. But this
We're
is
deep
Wajeeh
undercover.
Jacob.
We're deep undercover as black men spies, you know.
Yep. So please go to Malcolm, subscribe to his channel. If you're watching YouTube, you're definitely watching a recording. So to subscribe, join the conversation, and then subscribe to us on Substack. We have some of the memberships as well on Substack. We provide up to date information and analysis of the U.S. conflict and around the world. And our experts here are fives that have served duty and maidens in this world. And if you want to ask them to view the and filtration, I appreciate that about. Oh, thank you again for tuning in, and next time.
See you tomorrow, Waji.
Do you have
See
anything
you.
you want to say?
I would just want to say thanks. It's always a pleasure talking to you. We have Malcolm back tomorrow. Yeah, see you all tomorrow. Great.
Have a good one. Bye bye.
You too.